Hey folks, hit that subscribe button and join the family for more stories like this. The Sunday meal happened at my father's place, a routine he'd kept going every month since our mother passed away. My sibling Vanessa showed up with her spouse Mark and their 3 children. I arrived by myself, like usual. Vanessa had outfitted her kids, as if they were heading to an outdoor tea party. Her 10-year-old daughter Lily sported a frock with a fancy brand tag, peeking out at the neckline. The twins, each 7 years old, wore identical sets that likely ran more than what I spend on groceries in a month. "Vanessa," she remarked upon spotting me, "you're in that outfit." I glanced at my pants and pullover. It's a Sunday gathering. It's a relative's meal. Certain folks put in some effort. My father was laying out the dishes as we got there. He'd gotten takeout from the local Italian spot. Same old routine. Vanessa right away began shifting items around, relocating dishes, tweaking the table decoration. "Father, you ought to invest in real dinnerware. This regular set is so ordinary." "It does the job," my father replied, "for daily use, but this is relatives. We ought to uphold some quality." Mark was scrolling on his phone, hardly noticing. The children had dispersed into the family room, gadgets in hand. I assisted my father in bringing dishes from the cooking area. Noodles, greens, rolls. Straightforward, perfectly adequate. "How's the job?" my father inquired of me. "Hectic?" "Fine. Still in that housing field." "Handling buildings?" "Yeah." Vanessa caught wind. "Oh, are you still at that firm?" I figured that was just short term. It's been 8 years. 8 years in one position. That's so unchanging. Mark's already climbed 3 ranks in that period. Mark glanced up for a second, gave a nod, then returned to his screen. We took our seats for the meal. My father at the end. Vanessa and Mark on one side with the youngsters, me solo on the opposite. Vanessa portioned food for her kids first, slicing Lily's noodles and prompting the twins to grab tissues. She was acting out parenting as if spectators were present. "So, Father," she mentioned, "we're mapping out the warm season calendar. We'll claim the waterfront spot for July. Clearly, the children adore it there. Then perhaps the hillside lodge in August prior to classes resuming." My father nodded. "Seems pleasant. And we're considering holiday festivities at the seaside home this year. Kick off a fresh custom. The youngsters are mature enough now to truly enjoy it." I chewed a forkful of noodles and stayed silent. The waterfront spot, the hillside lodge, the seaside home. Complimentary homes I'd acquired in the last 6 years. Ventures, leases, growing values, everything under my title. Everything overseen by my business and all utilized without cost by Vanessa and her crew who figured my father held them. 6 years back, my father had phoned me anxious. "Vanessa's inquiring about getaway homes. Claims all her pals have them. She wonders why we lack any. I can't swing something like that on my pension. No need to stress." I'd responded I'd snagged the waterfront spot initially. A repossessed one that required fixes, but it had solid structure and a prime spot. 2 hours northward, directly by the waves. I fixed it up, decorated it, turned it stunning. Then I handed my father a key and explained it was for relatives' enjoyment. Allow Vanessa to think whatever she wished regarding the holder. She presumed it belonged to my father. Perhaps a legacy he'd kept secret. Perhaps funds he'd stayed mum about. She'd never inquired straight, simply began occupying it, sharing images online. Our waterfront spot. Relatives' custom. Fortunate. 2 years on, I purchased the hillside lodge, snow sports zone, stunning scenery. Another repossessed I restored. Gave my father one more key. Vanessa had been ecstatic. 2 getaway homes. She informed all her buddies, displayed photos, labeled it the relative's hillside escape. Previous year, the seaside home, shoreland, tougher to finance, but I'd set aside and put money in. Well, identical approach. Key to my father. Vanessa's presumption of holding. 3 homes, combined worth now roughly $2 million, all yielding lease earnings when Vanessa's crew wasn't occupying them. All solely in my title. The waterfront spot is becoming so improved. Vanessa was commenting currently. "I've been pondering we ought to enhance the pier. Perhaps acquire a larger vessel. Mark's been researching deck boats. Those run pricey. My father stated cautiously. But it's a boost to the home. Renders it pricier. I'm uncertain. Father, you must upkeep these spots correctly. That's holding basics. Lily, the 10-year-old was observing me dine. Mom, why does Aunt Sarah devour so quickly? Because she lacks politeness, Vanessa remarked casually. Certain folks don't pick up correct meal manners. Why not? Varied focuses, varied upbringing. Certain folks prioritize cash, others on polish. Mark really chuckled at that. I kept dining. Aunt Sarah, Lily declared boisterously. Do you possess a getaway home? No, I replied. Why not? Don't you possess funds? Vanessa grinned. Lily, not everybody can swing fine items. Aunt Sarah labors intensely, but she's not on our financial tier. That's fine. Everybody has their role. My father fidgeted uneasily. Vanessa, what? It's factual. Sarah's always been the one scraping by. We're simply fortunate to have fared better. The twins were observing now, absorbing. Mom says you're broke, one of them proclaimed. Oliver S.H. Vanessa stated, but she was grinning. That's not courteous, but you did utter it. You stated Aunt Sarah is broke, and that's why she lacks fine attire or a fine vehicle or getaway homes. I stated she has varied means, which is accurate. Lily rose abruptly. Mom, if Aunt Sarah is broke, ought she be dining with us? Vanessa halted. What do you intend, dear? You stated broke folks ought to remain standing while we dine. Recall? You stated wealthy folks sit and broke folks stand like helpers. The space fell utterly silent. Vanessa's cheeks reddened. Lily, I didn't intend that was a separate discussion, but you did utter it. You stated in past times, wealthy folks sat and helpers stood. And that's how it ought to be. That's the innate system. She faced me, her tone elevated. Mom says broke folks ought to stand while we dine. So you ought to rise, Aunt Sarah. That's the guideline. All were gazing. My father appeared shocked. Mark appeared entertained. Vanessa appeared trapped between shame and another emotion. Then Mark began applauding. Gradual, intentional claps. From the lips of innocence. Child has a valid point. Social ranking exists for a purpose. The twins began applauding too, mimicking their dad. Then Vanessa participated reluctantly initially, then with greater assurance. Lily applauded the most vigorously, pleased with herself. My father's tone was soft. That's sufficient. Oh, relax, Mark stated. It's merely humor. She's correct, though, Vanessa stated. Her tone firmer now. There are tiers. Certain folks sit at the dining surface. Certain folks assist. That's simply fact. Sarah's never going to possess what we possess. She labors for a building oversight firm. We hold homes. There's a distinction. My father set down his utensil. Vanessa, this is unsuitable. Is it, or is it merely candid? You've always been the one scraping by, Sarah. Residing in that unit, operating that aged vehicle, holding that average role. Meanwhile, we're amassing riches, forging heritage. Lily's correct. There are folks who sit and folks who stand. It's not harsh. It's simply the fact. She's correct. My father stated abruptly. All pivoted to gaze at him. What? Vanessa inquired. Lily, she's correct. My father's expression was stern. About ranking. About recognizing your position. Sarah, perhaps you ought to rise. I gazed at my parent at his expression, shut and chilly, instructing his grandkids that certain folks merited chairs and others didn't. I rose. Vanessa grinned, victorious. I grabbed my tote, proceeded to the exit, and departed. Nobody summoned me back. I could hear Mark chuckling as I shut the entrance. In my vehicle, I placed 3 calls. First to the building oversight firm that dealt with my leases. Lock replacements required on all 3 homes this evening. Urgent fee is acceptable. Second to the identical firm. Revoke entry for all present key possessors except the main holder. Me immediate effect. Third to my attorney. I require official no-entry notices prepared for 3 homes. By 8 that night. All 3 homes had fresh locks. The waterfront spot, the hillside lodge, the seaside home. All protected. I composed a message to Vanessa and Mark. Effective now. You lack entry to the homes at 847 Lakeshore Drive, 2341 Mountain View Road, or 619 Coastal Highway. These homes are privately held and you lack authorization to access. The locks have been replaced. Any effort to enter them will be viewed as intrusion. All items can be collected by arrangement via my attorney. I include the home titles, all three, all in my title. Acquired in 2018, 2020, and 2023. I press send. My phone began buzzing at 6 in the morning. Vanessa's contact. I allowed it to voicemail. Eventually, a message. The waterfront spot is secured. What did you do? I didn't reply. At 8 phoned. I picked up. Sarah, what's happening? Vanessa phoned frantic. She can't access the waterfront spot. They arrived last night and the locks were replaced. That's accurate. Why would the locks be replaced? Because I replaced them. It's my home. Pause. Then your home. I hold the waterfront spot and the hillside lodge and the seaside home. All three. I acquired them. They're in my title. I provided you keys so you could utilize them. But I never provided Vanessa approval. She simply presumed you held them. All three. Yes. But Vanessa thinks she's been informing everyone their relatives' homes. They're my homes that I permitted relatives to utilize. Past tense. Sarah, she has arrangements. The youngsters were set to pass the weekend at the waterfront. Then she ought to have considered that before applauding her daughter's remark that I ought to stand while they dine. More pause. That was Lily being childish. That was Lily echoing precisely what Vanessa instructed her. That there are folks who sit and folks who stand. That I'm broke and ought to recognize my position. You concurred, Father. You instructed me to rise. I was jesting. You weren't. And neither was Vanessa. They truly believe I'm below them. The scraping by sibling. Someone who ought to stand while they sit. They didn't intend it that way. They intended it precisely that way. Vanessa stated it herself. There are folks who sit and folks who stand. Well, there are also folks who hold getaway homes and folks who merely utilize them without inquiring. You can't simply secure them out. Vanessa has been arranging July at the waterfront for months. Vanessa can arrange whatever she desires, just not at my waterfront spot. Be rational. I am being rational. I'm protecting my private home funded by my so-called average roll that Vanessa thinks renders me broke. Vanessa dispatched a lengthy message later. You're acting immature. Yes, Lily uttered something unsuitable, but you're penalizing our whole crew because you're touchy about funds. These homes have been relatives' homes for years. You can't simply remove them because your emotions were bruised. The youngsters are crushed. Everyone is aware of our warm season at the waterfront. You're humiliating us. I replied, those homes were never relatives' homes. They were my homes that I permitted you to utilize. You labeled me broke. You stated I ought to stand while you dine. You applauded when your child instructed me to recognize my position. Now you recognize yours. My homes. My choice. Final. She replied, this is robbery. Those homes belong to the relatives. Review the titles I dispatched. My title only acquired with my funds. Mark phoned from another contact. I picked up. Sarah, this is absurd. Those residences are worth what? $2 million. You can't really hold them. Building oversight folks don't earn that kind of cash. Building oversight firm holders do, particularly when they oversee their own collection of leases. You hold a firm? Yes. For 8 years, I oversaw 73 lease homes, including my own ventures. The 3 getaway homes produce about $12,000 a month in lease earnings when not occupied by relatives. Pause. Vanessa stated you were broke. Vanessa observes someone who operates a sensible vehicle and dons pants and presumes poverty. She never inquired about my real finances, just formed presumptions. The waterfront spot alone is worth $700,000. I acquired it for $350 as a repossessed and invested $80,000 in fixes. Now it's worth $800,000. The hillside lodge I got for $270, invested $50 in improvements, now worth $600,000. The seaside home was $500,000, required small work, now worth $650. Total collection value about $2 million plus 70 other homes I oversee. Wow. Inform Vanessa her items at all 3 homes are being cataloged. She can arrange collection via my attorney. And Mark, next time someone instructs me to stand while you dine, perhaps verify who holds the getaway residences first. I ended the call. My father phoned that night. Vanessa wishes to say sorry. I'm certain she does. She didn't grasp about the homes. She grasped that she thought it was broke enough to stand while she dined. The youngsters are weeping. They don't comprehend why they can't visit the waterfront. Then Vanessa can clarify what occurs when you instruct children that certain folks are worth less than others. Sarah, please. Father, you instructed me to stand at the meal's surface. Your daughter informed me I was below them, and you concurred. He was silent for an extended period. I figured they were jesting. They weren't, and neither were you. You believed it. Just for an instant, you believed I was the broke relative who ought to recognize her position. I'm sorry, I know, but the residences remain secured. 6 months on, I sold the waterfront spot. The fresh holders were a delightful pair from the urban area. Vanessa learned through online posts when the fresh holders shared images. She phoned me for the first time in months. You sold our waterfront spot. I sold my waterfront spot. But the recollections, the youngsters' warm seasons, the relatives' custom of instructing your daughter to inform me to stand while you dined. That custom. She ended the call. I retained the hillside lodge and the seaside home. Began leasing them out properly year-round. Solid earnings, and I acquired a 4th home, a snow retreat in Vermont. Stunning, contemporary, pricey, just for me. No relatives' keys, no joint entry, no presumptions of holding, just my title on the title and my guidelines about who sits and who stands. Turns out everyone sits at my dining surface because I hold the dining surface and the residence it's in. All of them.